Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Pastor Ed McGashey from the Bridgewood Church of Christ. Appreciate you coming out today, sir. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before your throne of grace at this time, we are conscious that you are the one who gives life and health and strength. We're also very aware, dear God, that all things come from you. Not only are you the source of salvation, but you're also the one who has established government. And so we pray that these individuals who are charged with great responsibility in this court, recognizing they are indeed servants of the Most High God, will discharge their responsibilities in humility, justice, and fairness, with wisdom, and we pray, dear Father, direction from you in all things that are right. We ask all these things, our Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming out today. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have two announcements this morning. The first one is under the Administrator section, the item 9A2. This concerns the 2008 JAG funding for MHMR. We're going to ask that we hold that item for 1 week. Also, members of the Court, Ms. Henderson, our County Clerk, has an announcement she'd like to make to the Court at this time.
Good morning, members of the court. Just like to announce that effective immediately, funeral home directors and the general public no longer need to travel downtown to obtain a certified copy of a death record or to file a death record. That can all be done at the sub-courthouses now. Full service, file records at all sub-courthouses.
Thank you. That's great.
That is.
Court members, you have before you the regular minutes of our April 6th meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have several proclamations and resolutions this morning, and we're going to, before we start, I do want to note the fact that during this past week we lost one of our own, Scott Christian from the Sheriff's Department, passed away very unexpectedly, and we're going to close the court today in memory of Scott. Our first resolution is for Bill Pasteur, and I'm going to call on Neil Adams to come up and make just a couple of comments before I read the resolution. Welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
Hey, Neil.
Judge Whitley, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Fickus, Commissioner Van Ravensway, Commissioner Brooks, ladies and gentlemen, I for the purpose of the record, my name is Neil Adams. I'm not here today wearing my lawyer hat. I'm not here representing anyone other than my dearest friend, Bill Pasteur. I want to thank you. I know for this day. This is a special day. I would also like to introduce his family to you, who are all of them who are here. And Tamita, if you would join me up here, and the rest of them, if you just stand where you are. This is Bill's wife of 58 years, Tamita Pasteur. This is his son, Bobby, his grandson, Richard, his daughter, Christy, his son-in-law, Larry, his daughter, Lori, his grandson, Joey, Marine, served in Iraq, Becky, his granddaughter, who's carrying his great-grandchild, who will be here in August, and he will be there in spirit, I know, Becky. It's indeed an honor for us to be here today. And there are a number of friends in the audience. If you're here for Bill Pasteur, would you please stand? Oh, my.
That's awesome.
As Judge Whitley and Commissioner Fickus know, for many, many years, Bill and Tamita Pasteur have been stalwarts in northeast Tarrant County. They moved to Euless, Texas in 1958. And if you can just think back what that part of the county was like in 1958, some of us were barely around, but some of us were. And obviously the airport was not there. Bill was a very successful commercial real estate developer, and much of your northeast Tarrant County tax base is a reflection of his leadership. Bill had one major passion in life, and every one of you this past year had lunch with Bill and I and got to discuss that passion, and that was the sanctity of life. Bill was a very proactive advocate for the unborn, and he will be dearly missed by them because he truly stood tall for them. In fact, on April the 30th, 1987, the county hospital, the board of managers of the county hospital adopted a policy that the county hospital would no longer perform abortions at taxpayers' expense. That policy, I can tell you today, still stands as it was written in 1987, and that's a reflection of his leadership and his efforts. I know I stand here today, and I speak in behalf of Tamita and the family and friends, that we certainly appreciate and thank you for this special honor for our friend, our husband, and our family member. Thank you, Judge.
With that, I'm going to read the resolution into the record. Whereas the relatives, friends, and colleagues of William E. Bill Pasteur were deeply saddened by his death on Tuesday, January the 26th, 2010, and whereas the passing of Bill Pasteur took from our community an outstanding civic leader who touched the lives of many and gave selflessly to many causes, and whereas Bill Pasteur was born May 13, 1934, in Memphis, Tennessee, to the late W.E. and Edna Mae Pasteur, earned a Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of Texas at El Paso, served as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army, married Carmelita B. Pasteur in El Paso on August 6, 1956, and moved to Euless after graduating from college in 1958. And whereas Bill Pasteur was a business leader, commercial real estate broker, and developer in northeast Tarrant County for more than 40 years, and as a member of the Advisory Board of Education in Action, encouraged students to learn about the importance of patriotism and the heritage and geography of Texas. And whereas Bill Pasteur served as chairman of the board of the First National Bank of Euless in the 1970s, as president of the Euless Lions Club in the 1960s, as well as on the Hearst Euless Bedford Hospital Authority Board from 73 to 1975. And he received the Special Recognition Award on behalf of the Mother and Unborn Care for his service and leadership. And whereas Bill Pasteur was a resolute man of faith, devout beliefs, and deep convictions, who truly loved and cared about his community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners' Court of Tarrant County, pay tribute to the memory of Bill Pasteur, a beloved and honorable man of Tarrant County, and extend our deepest sympathy to the members of his family and his many friends for their great loss. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 13th day of April, 2010. I would move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We're truly going to miss him. We know that you stood by him and that you supported him and encouraged him for 58 years. And so we share a little bit in the loss I know you've had. We can't tell you how much we appreciate both you and what you've done. Go ahead and get a picture of yours. Would you like to make some comments? Okay.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. We appreciate it. It's a blessed day. We thank you.
And Neil, while you're here, I'd like to express our sincere sympathy for the loss in your family Monday.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
The next resolution is for ratification, and so I will move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Vote. Motion passes unanimously. The next proclamation is for National Volunteer Appreciation Week. I believe that Terry LaFawn from the Public Health Department is here. Please come on forward, and I will read this into the record. Whereas National Volunteer Appreciation Week, April 18th through 24th, 2010, celebrating people in action, is a time to honor the thousands of individuals who take action year-round to strengthen their communities. And whereas during this week, all over the nation, service projects will be performed and volunteers recognized for their commitment to service. And whereas established in 1974, National Volunteer Appreciation Week has grown exponentially, recognizing the incalculable contributions that volunteers make every day across the country, and challenging all Americans to step forward to help wherever there is a need. And whereas the volunteers are vital to our future, and the giving of oneself in service to another empowers the giver and the recipient. And whereas the Tarrant County Medical Reserve Corps volunteer force of 1,500 is a great treasure, with MRC volunteers most recently giving 991 volunteer hours to the Tarrant County community by assisting with public health activities regarding the H1N1 influenza. And whereas Irma Bombach noted, volunteers are the only human beings on the face of the earth who reflect this nation's compassion, unselfish caring, patience, and just plain love for one another. And whereas National Volunteer Appreciation Week reflects our appreciation for the Tarrant County Medical Reserve Corps, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, encourage all citizens to volunteer in their communities, and further, we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim the week of April 18th through 24th, 2010 as National Volunteer Appreciation Week in Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we have heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 13th day of April 2010. I will move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. I've been hearing the commercials the last couple of weeks, both from the Dallas side and from the Tarrant County side. Tarrant County has one of the largest percentage of volunteers of any of the counties in the state. We're slightly behind Harris County, and we need to all get out there and see if we can't encourage our friends, encourage our neighbors to sign up, so that not only will these folks be available to help us at times when we are in need of their assistance, but also so we can beat Harris and Dallas County.
Well,
Terry, I'm going to let you introduce the rest of the folks that you have with you at the moment. I'm going to come out here and with this plaque, and let's come on all up here and let's get this full circle so we can be hopefully. You're just heading for the back there, right? I will have to admit that while I was doing this thing, I couldn't see you. You know, once in a while you slip out this way.
Yeah, and I am standing up too.
I didn't say that.
Thank you, Judge. I'd like to introduce Dr. Mark Koch, Suzanne Oakley, Gracie Castilleja, and Val Roach, our Medical Reserve Corps volunteers. Thank you.
Our next proclamation is on Youth Financial Literacy Month, and we have our own Catherine Rodder here. Come on down. They said they sent chaperones with her just to make sure she didn't get too out of control. Whereas the young people of our community represent the nation's single greatest resource, who in the years ahead will assume leadership positions and responsibility for advancement of our society. And whereas guidance and education and the development of fiscal responsibility are essential for success in developing the qualities necessary for assuming these positions, and whereas the credit unions of our nation endeavor to provide the tools to enable our youth to deal with the intricacies of personal finance in the areas of saving for the future and personal checking, as well as understanding and using credit wisely. And whereas the Credit Union Youth Week, April 19th through 24th, 2010, highlights the commitment of credit unions throughout the nation to strengthen the financial knowledge of our youth, and whereas the Tarrant County Credit Union supports these efforts by offering youth savings programs and education through the National Endowment for Financial Education, by being represented at career days at area schools, by participating in charitable programs for underprivileged elementary school children, and by providing scholarship opportunities for continuing education of its young members. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, as a demonstration of our support, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2010 as Youth Financial Literacy Month throughout this county. And further, we encourage all the citizens of Tarrant County to recognize the importance of saving, investing, and having financial goals. I'll move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
While you're on your way down there, Judge, I'd like to personally thank the credit union for all you do for the youth of this community.
Thank you.
Well, I guess you're not going to ask me if I have a few words, because I guess you know I always do.
We
right?
always, yeah, we recognize
allow
that.
First of all, Judge, thank you. Commissioners, thank you very much. As you know, Tarrant County Credit Union strives in trying to teach our children about savings and the importance of it. We know that they don't learn those financial basics in the schools today. And as you know, we have programs for the very young that start learning how to save, why it's important they have fun doing that, as well as when those lovely teenagers start working and have checking accounts, we're there to help them and to take care of those responsibly as well. This Saturday at the Northeast Subcourthouse, we are offering a free youth seminar from 9 to 11. Whether a member or not a member, anyone is entitled to attend. They just need to give me a call or email me so I can get you registered. And this class will be on how to graduate college without debt. We're going to talk to them about college, talk to them about how to take care of business so you graduate with very little debt other than maybe just a few college loans. On behalf of the management at Tarrant County Credit Union and the Board of Directors, once again, I would like to thank you guys very much for your effort, for the partnership, and allowing us to do what we do in the community. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Commissioner Fickus, you have a couple of resolutions.
Yes, we do. The first one is for ratification only, and it's a resolution of appreciation for Dr. Kay Wagner, who is has been the superintendent at the Grapevine Colleyville School District. Dr. Wagner has done an absolutely marvelous job, and she is moving on to a bigger and larger school district, and I think in Richardson, so we wish her well, but she's done a great job. So move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our next proclamation is for National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and at this time, I believe Lori, is it Clarida? Am I correct? Close?
Clarida.
Clarida.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to my world.
And Lori's our victim assistance coordinator with the Sheriff's Office. And at this time, I would like to read our proclamation. Whereas 21 million Americans suffer the indignity of crime each year and may experience emotional, physical, psychological, and financial harm as a result of such crime. And whereas a just nation acknowledges crime's impact on individuals, families, and communities and ensures that victims are treated with fairness, dignity, and respect as they interact with the criminal justice system. And whereas 25 years ago, the President's Task Force on Victims of Crime drew attention to the poor treatment of victims in the criminal justice system, calling it indifferent to victims' needs, and whereas a decade-long struggle to balance the scales of justice resulted in victims' rights laws in every state and more than 32 state constitutional victims' rights amendments that enshrine the ideas of fairness, dignity, and respect for victims of crime. And whereas treating victims with dignity serves the public interest in engaging victims in the justice system, inspiring respect for public authorities, and promoting confidence in public safety. And whereas there is more to be done to advance these ideas because too many victims are denied their right to attend trial, present an impact statement at sentencing, or receiving notice of the release of an offender. And whereas we must work to ensure fair treatment of crime victims by providing protection for child and sexual assault victims, ordering and enforcing victim restitution from offenders, and notifying victims of their right to compensation and services, thereby giving hope to victims that the system and society will work to restore dignity and respect to their needs and rights. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 18th through 24th, 2010, provides an opportunity for us to raise awareness of the foundation of victims' rights, fairness, dignity, and respect, and to recommit to honoring those values by ensuring that all victims are afforded their legal rights and are provided with assistance as they face the financial, physical, and psychological impact of crime. And whereas the Tarrant County Coalition of Crime Victim Services is joining forces with victim service programs, criminal justice officials, and concerned citizens throughout Tarrant County and America to raise awareness of victims' rights and observe National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby claim the week of April 18th through April 24th, 2010 to be Crime Victims' Rights Week throughout Tarrant County, and reaffirm this county's commitment to respect and enforce victims' rights and address their needs during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year. Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for coming today. Is it this? You got anything you'd like to say? Oh.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Judge. I would just like to take a minute to let everyone know that the Tarrant County Coalition of Crime Victim Services is a group of social service agencies within the county who specifically work with victims of crime. And our group has been around since the late 1980s. We recognize victims on a daily basis, but take this 1 week every year to recognize victims as a whole and to do something for the community and give back to those victims. And over the years, each one of you has helped us in this effort, and we certainly appreciate that. And this year, we are also holding our annual tribute to victims in our tree dedication. Next Thursday, April 22nd, 10 a.m., we will be on the Tarrant County College Northeast Campus. And we will be honoring this year, focusing mostly on victims of driving while intoxicated crimes, so auto-related crimes. And I would like to invite each one of you to come and participate with us and just show our victims our support on an ongoing basis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to call on Larry Wilson to come forward and to recognize our employees who have earned degrees during this last in 2010.
No.
2009.
Okay. Mine says for 2010, but that's all right. This program started in '98. Through 2009, we have I guess, reimbursed over 500 employees for this. And as I make calls each month and I talk with folks, over and over again, this program gets brought up as a benefit that everybody really does appreciate and appreciates the county going forward with this. So it is certainly something that I think many folks obviously have taken advantage of over the last years and since we started this program, and it's something I think we should be proud of. Larry, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
We'll ask each one that is present just to stand and be recognized. Those that have completed associate degrees are Darcy Dodson from the Sheriff's Office, Karen Evans, Public Health, Sherry Wynn, District Clerk, and now has moved to Criminal Courts, I understand, Amber Bullock, Domestic Relations, Amber Haltom, Information Technology. Bachelor's degree. Sorry, yes, I switched degrees here. Amber Bullock and Amber Halton earned bachelor's degrees. Crystal Jones, Juvenile Services. Michael Simon, Sheriff. Now we switch to master's degrees, and we have more in the master's degrees than the other two combined. Wanda Floyd Struthers, Public Health. Janet Horton, CSCD. Kyle May, Juvenile Services. Ange Ramnarine, Human Resources. Lydia Villamil, Juvenile Services. And Tina Wilson, Precinct Number 1. Now we'll reconvene out in the hallway for group pictures.
Larry, thank you very much. Appreciate your work in that regard. Congratulations again. Thank you all. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda accepting items 9A2.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 9A2. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Please excuse Commissioner Brooks during that vote. Next, we have a public hearing. Ms. Lamb, come on down.
I'm here today to request that Commissioners Court consider raising the speed limit from 45 miles per hour to 50 miles per hour on Morris Dotto Newark Road in Precinct 4. The engineer has done a study on this, and we're recommending this raise in the speed limit.
This is a public hearing, and so at this time I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing none, then I will close the public hearing and
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, go to item 1 of the administrator section. This is somewhat of a unique experience for at least me. I normally get up here to ask for money, but today we're presenting a check to give money back to the county. Cool. We're asking that the Commissioners Court accept a check from the Texas Conference of Urban Counties to rebate Tarrant County for a portion of the license fee payments related to the Common Integrated Justice System. This is part of our TechShare program, and when we first became involved with TechShare, we anticipated that eventually, with our collaboration with the other counties, that there would be financial savings to the counties, and this here is simply a reflection of some monies that we're receiving because of our participation in CJIS, and also the fact that all the counties are very timely in the paying of their maintenance fees. By the way, on this particular product, while we're expanding it throughout the county, This system is currently operating in the probate courts. It's also the system that we are implementing in the JP courts and also in the county courts of law, which are the county civil courts.
Every once in a while, you bring some good news.
Few and far between.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I will say that I'm excited about TechShare, and I think what the potential is for TechShare among the urban counties, but equally important is our ability, I think, eventually to take what we do through TechShare with the urban counties and make it available to the smaller rural counties. And I really see that as going to be the benefit into the future, because I think our smaller counties, from a financial standpoint, are going to struggle over the next several years. And if we can help, if we can create some programs that we have control over and then can make those available and help support those smaller counties, I really believe that this is going to be the benefit, long-term benefit of that. We're starting off with some very ambitious. We've got our juvenile system, which I think is very close to being ready to roll out, and I believe will be our first example. What GK is talking about here is the criminal justice, but I, in the future, envision that this will take on a much broader deal, and that we can truly, as larger counties, I think we can truly help support the smaller counties and give them some assistance and support that they're going to badly need as we go forward. So it's great that we're getting some money back on this. I think there'll be plenty of opportunity for us to expand this program in the future, and I look forward to doing that. So
I do as well, and appreciate having some return on our investment. I didn't hear you say the amount of the check. I'd like to know.
It is $104,201.
Good job.
if there's no other discussion, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go back for just a second because we had the award, the announcements on discussion. Do we need to receive and file that as an item, or are we okay with?
Let's go ahead and receive and file that.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Rack?
Yes, we have some subrogation recovery checks. They're in the amounts of $616.04, $192.06, and $2,362.44, requesting authorization for the auditor to cash the same.
Move for approval.
Move for approval.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Good morning.
Morning.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve Amendment Number 1 to the construction management contract with Gilbane Building Company for the guaranteed maximum price to construct a new maximum security jail building and replace the Correction Center fire alarm and security systems.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Glenn?
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Glenn.
We have two items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for the medical examiner's office. The chief forensic death investigator retired at the end of March with 400 vacation hours. The department is asking for a waiver of 328 hours of that vacation time. The fiscal impact to the general fund is a little more than $14,800.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beecham? Good morning.
Good morning. Judge, I'd like to apologize to the court for me not being able to come up to the front last week. I had 3 issues I was dealing with. Butler's loss was one of them. Secondly, it was my birthday. Tom Wilder was sitting in front of me. I didn't feel well, which that may be why I didn't feel well, but I was going to ask him, since it was my birthday, I was going to contemplate changing my name to RazorbackJack.com and assure him there'd be only a person of 1 to contest or fill out the appropriate form.
Just read the sign up on the wall about the fraudulent filing.
We have 2 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for our bid number 2010-050. This is our annual contract for automotive and light truck body repair. We are recommending award to the primary and secondary vendor on the firm fixed discount with a warranty. We did receive a bid from a North Richland Hills company, Express Collision Repair, who did not sign their bid form, and we are recommending rejection of that particular bid.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is also a bid award recommendation for our bid number 2010-055. This is our annual contract for our standard highway and road signs. Our recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lamb.
She was in the paper today.
Were you in the paper today?
Yeah. 26, Highway 27.
Yes.
Am I? Because I asked them to call you, Commissioner. I'll have to get back and read that, I suppose.
I was with JD.
We were doing a field survey.
Yeah.
I'm here today to talk about Precinct 1. The City of Fort Worth has requested the county's participation in the funding of improvements to Dirks Road from Bryant Irving Road eastward to Southwest Parkway and over to Old Granbury Road. The amount of participation is $2 million spread out into, I think it's 5 different pavements.
Move approval, and those funds are to come from my discretionary funds under the bond program.
Yes, sir.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any appointments? None. Then there is a bond today for our fire marshal. Ms. Diamond.
Thank you. We received the original bond this morning, and it is legally sufficient. We request that you approve the bond of the fire marshal.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Enius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have one item that we'd like to bring to the Court this morning. This concerns the development of the SAP ReachSoft application. Mr. Hughes is here to address the Court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I've been asked to relay to the Court about the upcoming deployment of the ReachSoft application into our SAP environment. So I will attempt to make it very brief so that I don't take up your valuable time. The ReachSoft product that's coming into deployment on April the 26th is designed to enhance the SAP functionality around accounts payable. And so I will talk briefly about the 3 broad strokes that this thing is going to bring to the county. First, within the auditor's office in our current environment, we have where we enter invoices into the system. We scan those invoices and we data enter that information directly into SAP. In this new world with ReachSoft, the functionality will be brought to play where you can scan that invoice and the system will interpret that information and automatically extract that information back into SAP without any data entry. It won't work for all invoices, but a great majority of them, and therefore it will improve our accuracy and the timing associated with getting invoices into SAP. So we eliminate one step associated with that, and we group all that information together. During that process, invoices are typically then handled by the auditor's office as far as reviewing them for accuracy and for signatures and for, say, purchase orders, things like that. If the system has a problem with that, currently we have to pick up the phone, we have to call the affected department and say, we need a goods receipt, we need a signature, we need something else associated with it. With this added functionality within the SAP and the ReadSoft, when that error is encountered by the application, it would automatically send workflow emails back to the department asking them to address the issue, be it related to unit of measure, goods receipt, those kind of things. So now we have eliminated a huge portion of the auditor's office's job associated with making those phone calls, that manual process. The system is so intuitive that after 2 or 3 attempts, if it does not get a response back from the department, it actually sends it back to the auditor's office and they can intervene on its behalf and begin to make those phone calls themselves. So we've eliminated a lot of the data entry errors associated. We have put workflow associated with that did not exist before. We've automated several pieces of that step. The system's very intuitive, like I say, understanding purchase orders, those kind of items. It's all automated now. There are manual processes that we still have to step in and monitor that particular application, but it eliminates a lot of that flow, improves the business process. And finally, one of the things that will impact the vast majority of the end users, and when I say that, those people who do check requests, requisitions, things like that, we've added one more piece of functionality that will be deployed, and that's associated with doing check requests. Right now, you do those in a paper format. You write those out, you attach your paperwork, you walk around your office for signatures, you put them in the outgoing mail, they're delivered down to the auditor's office. They have to go through that same process of doing the data entry, scanning that invoice into the system, and trying to link all that information up. Now, through the same portal that we do employee self-service, you'll be able to sign on. Your employees who do those check requests will be able to sign on to the system, click on an icon in that environment that will allow them to do data entry directly online related to your check request. You'll be able to scan your own document and attach to that, and that will automatically feed into SAP. No need to walk it down, no need to do all that. The same workflows will be put into place, meaning if it's requiring some signatures and some additional information, that will automatically feed as well, and it will be real-time data. And so the combination of these events where we scan the document, it reads it, where the workflows come into place, where you're now able to go into employee self-service portal and actually do additional business function within that scenario, we basically improved the accounts payable business process associated with it. We have eliminated a lot of the paper flow and the storage of those paper records at the tail end of this process, and eventually we will eliminate a lot of our eco footprint. We will begin to shrink that process in doing so. This does not by any means eliminate what we currently do. It supplements and enhances it, and if someday we choose to use it wholeheartedly, it can eventually replace a lot of the business processes that are currently in there. If anybody has any questions, there's a lot more functionality associated with this particular application. Like I say, when you scan it, it teaches it how to read these invoices. It's a very intelligent product.
To what extent do the various people that enter these check requests have scanners?
The scanners that the individual departments will need, or their normal everyday scanners, if it's not something they currently possess, that could be something that we could look at supplying for them depending on the cost and what they're asking. The intelligent scanner, the one that does the heavy-duty lifting, are associated with the invoices that actually indirectly into the auditor's office, where it scans that, it interprets the vendor number, where the invoice is located, the purchase order, and all the data, that's extracted directly in there. But for the basic check request that's done, say, out at the department level, an ordinary scanner, if you've got an ordinary scanner, that works quite well to store that on your desktop, attach that, and send that in.
I got that.
Oh, okay, sir, I'm sorry.
What I need to know is who's got them And how many do we have to buy in order to make this thing work efficiently?
We haven't identified that we have to buy any, but I suspect somewhere along the way that we might. There are approximately 538 people who are currently authorized to do check requests in the county. Most of those have access to a desktop. I do not have the number off the top of my head, sir. I'm sorry. I can get that for you.
Let's find out.
Okay, I can get
I'm
that for you.
assuming that most of the, again, once the stuff's scanned in, then is somebody watching to say, okay, they picked up the right amounts? Is that what the individual who had been keying all that information in now?
They're reviewing that. Yes,
They're
sir.
going to review to make sure that it's picked up the right purchase order, the right dollar.
It goes into what's called a cockpit, and there'll still be quite a bit of review of the information that goes into this cockpit. And certainly a Staples invoice that we buy a lot that is repetitive, the information's very clearly presented. Once you teach the software in theory how to know where that is, the accuracy is very high. Handwritten and or other types of invoices would require more review because they're not going to be as easy for the system to the smart software to learn the software. The biggest piece of our operations that won't be automated by this, of course, are counsel fees, because those documents are multi-part, carbon, handwritten. And so in the long run, our goal is also to find a way to bring that into this process or into another process so that most of our data entry ultimately will be significantly reduced, if not eliminated.
When we request a check from our area and then I have to approve that, there's a request from the individual who's requesting the check and then I approve it.
Yes, sir.
Will that be the form then that's scanned in that will show my signature on there, or how are you going to verify or determine that I have
Currently, it will, depending on your choice, depending on who you want to approve, and we'll be meeting individually with the departments. It will actually, if, say, your administrative assistant fills that out and needs your signature, it will workflow an email to you asking you to do that approval. You'll literally be able to sign into employee self-service and say, I approve that particular item, and it will automatically go without any paper associated with it. It's essentially a digital signature, sir. So it does not look at that signature from that perspective for check
So it will
requests.
automatically go to payables or go to auditor?
It will go to the auditors, and it will end up in their docking port looking for all the associated, and they'll actually be able to pull that document up to see that you've signed it, along with the fact that its very presence there means you've already approved it. It's essentially a digital signature associated with it.
When you say they'll be able to pull the document up and see, so I'm going to be still signing the document?
You do not have to. No, that's your choice, but no, you do not have to have a signed document associated with that. It's a digital signature. It recognizes, meaning they go on the system, they do a check request online, and let's say there's a supporting document with that check request that needs to accompany it. You can attach that off your desktop on there. Whenever you make that approval, it automatically workflows that into their cockpit. It recognizes that you're the only one who could approve it. It has a workflow, and it shows all the audit trail associated with who originated, who did the digital signature associated with you, and it parks it there waiting for their additional review. It doesn't automatically send it all the way through. So from that perspective, no, sir, you wouldn't have to sign it. Could you sign a document and attach it? Yes, you could, but they wouldn't need to review that.
Training starts today for the departments that will be using this, and eventually it's offered to all departments, but we're certainly starting out working with some of the departments that volunteered to go to training and to work with us on this. On April the 26th, we will still have our old manual processes in place because everyone is not going to be doing everything online, but our goal is to work more and more towards the automation. Even from a budget standpoint this year, and asking for any changes that may or may not be associated with our position needs, our classifications, or any of those things. It's premature to ask for anything because we don't know what the new world will look like exactly, but we know where we're headed, and we know that we'll be back at some point in time to talk about other pieces of that. The last piece, of course, is at some point in time, the way we have to write deposit for employees today is to pay most of our vendors using an ACH process and not using a paper check process. But again, that's another piece of it down the road that we need to put other pieces in place and make sure we have the resources and the controls to be able to do the ACH processing for our vendors so we're not cutting paper checks and mailing them.
And I'm extremely proud of Tarrant County and the way we move forward on our technology. I just want to be sure that we put some caution out there too, because the auditor part of me says, and I'm as guilty as the next person, of sometimes allowing folks to know what my passwords are. And as we move into the authority to approve and to, in effect, attach my signature without me having to actually physically sign something, that concerns me.
Yes, sir.
And I think we just really have to stress to people who are doing and who have those levels of approval that, that there's a whole new seriousness attached to that and responsibility attached to allowing other folks to have access to that. And I don't know if you can have different levels of passwords for certain things, but it would be good to be able to get to the point to where if my signature is going onto it, it could be a password that hopefully only I will be able to remember from day to day.
I'll go back and take a look at that, Commissioner or Judge. I don't. It doesn't currently have that in there, but there is an extreme audit trail associated with it, so it's very detailed.
But the audit trail is only as good as who's got my password.
That is correct, sir.
And the moment I let
you, Judge,
that's on you. And that's exactly right. And there are certain things which I don't mind other folks having my passwords on, but when it gets to signing something that allows money to go out, I have a little bit more of a, it's just the bean counter in me.
I absolutely.
It's just the bean counter in me. So if there's a way to set up a password that says, if somebody's using my signature, this is the password, I'm the only one that's going to have that password, I'd sure like for us to explore that possibility.
Okay, we will take that away and see what we can.
And it may end up being that just to get into that part of the program, I have to figure out what my password is. I have to create a new password for that and try to remember it from day to day.
Why don't we also look at a policy from this court to department heads and other check approvers that process shall not be delegated?
I think that's something that I see that grin on your face because I know what that means. I mean, that's.
At least we'll be on record.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, and I'm not saying that to believe that we have any employees in this county that would take something, but I've been taught from my days in college that the best way to keep somebody from being tempted is not to tempt them.
I understand, Judge.
I know that didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to, but I think everybody understands.
It was profound.
That's a yogiism if you hadn't figured that out yet.
And believe me, we share the same concerns, which is why over a period of time, pieces of this will become more available.
Yeah.
But seriously, if you have passwords, that is another issue about sharing those, and we do find that occurs throughout the county from time to time. My only other comment I'd make about a separate password is a lot of times people complain when they have multiple logins and they have to keep track of all those logins. So we've moved to try to have single sign-on for a long time. I'm not sure I want to move away from single sign-on, but it does mean the integrity of that password has to be very carefully guarded, and that is an issue. So there'll be steps forward and maybe even a few steps back till we work through this, which is why even the ACHing on the back end from my office comes much later. We've had requests currently to ACH checks. We're not set up to do that today. We don't have the safeguards and the segregation of duties and the processes in place to do that. And we might want to do it with a vendor like Staples or Corporate Express as opposed to a writ that's going out to an individual, because we could get the money back from a larger vendor. So there's a lot of checks and balances that have to be put in place. But the automation is certainly the way of the future and the way that we're headed. It's the direction that we're going.
If there's no other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Next, members of the court, that's all we have at this time.
This time we'll recess our open session and move to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
We're ready, Your Honor.
Having returned from closed session and there being no business, we are adjourned again in memory of Scott Christian.
Is it no water talk? No water talk? No water talk. That's what I come in here for.